Hello Internet! Today we are going to be continuing the Detective Notes project for the game of Cluedo that I started last week. Let's just have a quick look at the code and what we have so far. So basically we have the shapes of a HTML document. I've given a couple of things classes because I thought I'd CSS them later, but I won't do that just yet. And then in the script we have a list of all of the people, weapons and rooms that Cluedo requires. It's a shorter list for now, makes things simpler. Make select, so that makes a select box. That's a function that helped us out to make all the different select boxes that we can see in a minute. New game, so when someone clicks new game we need to know how many players there are, so we grab that and put them in, and then takes all of the weapons in the current thing and the cards. And add event, we've just about got as far as we actually can add an event. Now there's at least one other thing we need to add, and that is add a fact. So who has cards? Before we can add the fact we need to actually make the add fact area. We'll do that pretty similar in divs. Oh, I should show you what it looks like at the moment. So this is currently what this looks like. So you've got a new game button, and that creates a list with all of the people, weapons and things you need, and you can choose how many people you want playing. So once you've done that you end up with a list of those things. Add event then actually just logs to console the current list of events. But back to coding, we're going to add another area for us to do this, and this will be div facts, I guess. Div class equals wrap div and in here we'll have another div, and this one needs an ID because this is where we're going to put all the stuff about facts. Div facts. I forgot the word ID there. That's okay. ID equals facts, and again we'll close that div. You didn't feel like having that one back, eh? That's okay. And here we will have another button. Button on click equals add fact. And then here we'll have add fact as the button. Close the button. This is just like the stuff above it, right? But this will do something slightly different in the middle of that div facts. So in our new game, we'll have a fact area, right? So that will be f area equals document dot get element by ID div facts semicolon. F area dot append child make select, and this one will be called cell owner because we're just going to do facts about who owns what cards, and again we just need the list of players to choose from. Semicolon. next decision. Beep-a-doop-boop. We also need an array with all of the weapons in for the select we're going to use to put this. So all cards equals like that. For I in what was it called? We have a cards array. B cards. I where I in B cards. B cards. All cards equals dot push dot append, right? All cards plus B cards I have a feeling that won't work. But we should be, if this does work, F area equals, so this is me trying to append two arrays to each other. It's being very lazy. I'm sure there's something I actually need to do. F area dot append child, and again make select. This is why we stuck that in a function, because I didn't want to have to do that too often. Cell cell fact card, and in that we're going to put all cards. Close that bracket, semicolon, and then if we run this, Control W to save, switch to the right thing, Control R, and now if we click new game, we get all of our players. Oh, we got all of the rooms. It's not quite what I expected. Scarlet, white, mustard, dagger, rope. Seems to have added them as strings. That actually makes sense. Okay, let's see if we can find a way to append a join two arrays in JavaScript. JS join two arrays. Concat. There's just a method called concat. Children equals age.concat. Okay. So if we go back, refresh this, new game, and now we have all of the weapons. Brilliant. And with all of the weapons, what else do we need to do? Oh, we haven't actually written the add facts method yet. We should probably right then. There's add event here. So if we put the add fact event method after that, function add fact. Again, it's going to be pretty similar to the add event one. So var owner equals pass int document dot get element by id, and this one is cell owner dot value var responder equals, no, we don't need that, var card equals document.get element by id. What do we call that? Cell, was it fact card? Yeah, fact card dot value. And with those two, then we just push it onto the array. So that's the game dot facts dot push. We make a new object which contains those two details. Owner colon owner and card, which is card. Close the squiggly, close the bracket, semicolon. So both of these add events. So now we need to do the actual calculations. See if we can work out who has what based on these details. So function calculate table, and this we'll first run through the facts because they just contain information that changes once. We need a place where we're going to put these. I think I was going to put them in the game dot people. So when I did new game, yeah, players, because I need to know what card each player has. So the thing is, I need to be able to calculate this from scratch because I'm concerned that someone might add it. It's a little bit confusing to add a fact, so if someone makes a mistake, I'll need to be able to undo it and be able to recalculate. And it doesn't take that much time, so I'm probably just going to be a bit lazy and make it calculate the whole table every time for now. So we can always clear these things out later. For now, we're just going to assume that the table, it doesn't matter if the table is full or empty at the start, we're just going to go through and add facts, and we can always just reset the table later if we want. So for var I equals we're just going through facts. The fact is just a list of owners and cards. For var f in the game dot facts there we go. So f will now be the index of all of these facts. I might need to short that. And we will make that P. I prefer to call that P. And and then we'll have f, short for this little fact, equals the game.facts p. And then we can work with our little f, which is our little fact, and add that to the players. So the game.players f.owner semicolon, no, equals, and then f, because there each player is an array, so players is an array, but each player is an array. Yep. F dot the other option card equals, now I'm going to work with undefined, false and true. Undefined means it hasn't been set yet, false means it has been set to definitely doesn't have, and true is set to definitely does have. And in this case the answer is true, definitely does have. Okay, and that's easy, that finishes itself in no time. And just check how people looks. No, it's players. And here I've set the players to a new array. So yes, they are all arrays. I can just add stuff to them. Calculate table. So now we need to go through all of our events. We may need to do this more than once actually. So, because sometimes a later event will teach you something about an older event. So, the first thing we'll do is we'll have a question that asks, have we learned something? And the answer to this is false. We'll set it to true. Has learned equals true. And then here we'll have a while not has learned we do this, and again, and on the inside we set has learned equals false, because that way if we learn something we can set it to true, and that will mean we want to make sure we get in here at least once. While has learned, we set it to false, and if we do learn something, that means we'll need to do this loop again, and so that will protect the loop. Our event is called for P in the game.events, again, this time var e equals the game.events p, semicolon. So now we've got e is our event, then I feel like this is going to be really complicated, and I'm going to get a long way away from the left hand side of the line if I don't stick this in another function. So this function I'm going to make is going to take function add event, and the event will be called EV. No, we'll call it calculate event. Calculate event. And when we calculate this event, well, obviously we'll take an EV. EV for our event. And this will return true or false depending on whether we learn something. How's that? So the first thing we need to do is we need to start at the very beginning at the owner. So t we'll have a pointer there. Yeah, we'll call it t I. T equals ev dot owner. Plus 1, because we're not actually going to know anything about our owner, because the owner asks something and doesn't ever tell us anything. Not as an actual fact. I mean, we can get an idea of what they're looking to know, but I want to make sure that everything we add here is actually factual, not speculation. ev.owner plus 1 mod, this is that's modular arithmetic. Oh, and obviously I need to put that in brackets because 1 mod whatever will always be 1, and we modulate that between the game dot players dot length. While t is less than, no, does not equal ev dot owner and at the end of this we will put t equals t plus 1 modulated on the, bracket that again, t plus 1 modulated on the game dot players dot length. So that means we should be able to go around and every time make sure we've got the owner, and everything that happens here, the exit, we need a variable called has learned. Var has learned equals false. And if we get to here, we're going to return has learned. And that will make it easier for calculate table to make a decision. So we're going through the different owners and we're going to ask, oh, the other question is of course if we get to, if t equals ev.responder, then we need to behave slightly. Then we've found out something. We know that the responder has one of the 3 cards, but we don't know which one. But if we know for sure that they don't have 2 of the cards, then we can see if they have the other 2. We can say if they don't. So we need to find no trues, because if we've got a true, then we've got no useful information from this particular person. If we get and we can just return because this is the last guy. So if there is already a true in this, we can return. So we need to run through the three items and ask if the player has them. Okay, so 4 are this is why I wanted to keep an eye. I feel like this is probably it. Var I equals 0. I is less than length. Ev dot cards, is that what it's called? Ev dot cards. Let's just check what an event looks like. Ask cards. Ask cards. Length plus plus and if we find a card that's already asserted as true, then we return. So if ev.ask cards I, no, it's not I. Oh dear, this is going to be a slightly complicated one. The game.players at ev.ask cards I equals true. I think I'm going to need to just make the card AC equals ev.ask cards I, because I'm going to need to use this at least twice and make it slightly and now I just put AC in there, and if that's equal to true, exactly equal to true, it can't have any other result, and we've not learned anything about this, but we might have learned something else already. So we'll return has learned, because even if they didn't respond with something that we know, we might have learned something about something anyone else didn't have. Although I haven't coded that yet, so we'll have to work on that in a minute. The other option is, of course, if it's Aha. So we need a variable for called var undefined undef, and that equals -1. If the game dot players, I could probably make this shorter as well. I'm going to be referencing that one too. So let's do that. This will be a value thing. Var cval, that's card value, equals, and that's the game dot players at AC semicolon. And then we can come back and replace that with cval, and if that's true, good. If cval equals undefined, then we can set our undefined. There are two possibilities here. If undef is greater than or equal to 0, then we don't have any new information. Return has learned. I have to admit, I have a slight preference for using functions to break for loops, which is another reason I've stuck this in here. Because then I know for certain where it's leaving the for loop. It's going straight back to the previous function inside. The last, but if that's not the case, then undef equals I, probably. Actually, yeah, it's going to have to be I. Now we already know we're on the last person. That's players T. Oh, something's missing here. There needs to be a T there. So the game got players T. AC. I'm tempted, because I think that this might be a handy thing to have here, is C player, that's current player, C player equals the game dot players T. And that's just a thing in the array, so now whenever I refer to that, I can call him C player. Undef. No, undef can equal anything. We'll replace this. Does not equal -1. And we can say our undefined one is the name of the card, right? Because our array it's a map. That's an array, but the actual player undefined equals AC. Yeah, that's the name of the card. Okay, AC. So if we end up with 2 undefineds, we're not going to write anything. But at the end of this for loop, if I don't think we even need to do anything with a false, because on a false we haven't found anywhere we could possibly add something. So we need to find exactly one undefined. So the first time we make an undefined, we put it in there, but the second time we find an undefined, we just leave the function. So if there is one undefined, and actually that's no, we do need to check what undefined is, because if undefined here equals -1, we don't do it. But if undef does not equal -1, we are going to add undefined we're going to set that card to true. Yes. So this becomes C player at undef equals true. And that the player responds, we don't learn any falses, so I can leave this and oh, and here we have definitely learned something. Return true. So we don't need to check if anything else has been learned. So that's how we learn about the 3 cards that one guy has, but we haven't got any means of learning about the cards that other people do or do not have yet. And that's in this loop, but in the case where we're not the responder. Oh, and the other thing we do still need to do is here we return has learned, because that means we will never get to this section here if that was the responder, and we will never get to this section here if it was the owner, the asker. Ooh, it's not owner, it's asker. Oops. Okay. Here we are. Set all non. So this is the non-responder. Non-responder can set all to false. And we'll put. I should probably do increment here. Right. So for each of the options, and the options are event.askCards for I in event for I equals events in I in event dot nope the game. No, it's ev dot ask cards. No, we'll make that p. Just for my conventions more than anything, that will be p. And we still have C player available to us, so it's C player at ev dot I need to do two things with this. C equals ev dot ask cards p so if C equals false, and I want to know if I've learned something here, so for if C player C equals undefined, and that has to be 3 equals this because of false evaluates to undefined if you compare them, if you do a double equals comparison. We don't want that. Equals undefined, sorry, undefined evaluates to false, so a double comparison, they come out the same. Has learned equals true. There you go. So we've got a chance to say we've learned something from doing this. Now I think that's all the information we need to know from calculation. We need to have somewhere to put our result. I'm actually going to put it out. We'll draw this better in a minute, but I want to see whether we're getting the right results. So to test if we're getting the right results, I'm going to just do a very lazy generation of all of the keys and their values. So we'll have a method called draw table or draw result. We'll probably change this one later, but I just want to see if I'm getting it right. Draw function, draw table. For I in P in the game dot players PL equals the game dot players P for I equals 0, I is less than or PL dot length semicolon I plus plus R string. So we'll have a string, we put it all in. R string equals empty string. Then we'll add R string equals plus equals BR, no, B P we'll give it a new line as well, just because I think it's slightly easier to read if I end up looking at source. Okay. And then for each thing, oh, why am I making this? Let's make it headed to. Very lazy, but that'll give some separation, and sometimes a bit of separation is helpful. I'm just going to give a list of all of the things they have. So this was wrong. This one should. This needs to be an in range. So for Q equal in PL. R string plus equals Q plus colon dum plus PL at Q plus BR new line semicolon. I think that will draw the table. We just need to tell it where to put that now. Do we have a div for it? Okay. Div ID equals res table div. Oh, and we'll do it in there. So res table. Draw table. Tab var tab equals document dot get element by ID. This was res table. Actually, we can just do dot inner HTML equals R string. And then if at the end of calculate table we throw in a draw table and then flip across and see I guess see where all the errors are. Control R, new game. So here's a theory. If we add a fact, and we'll just add, no, we'll add a fact that player 2 owns mustard. Somehow we know that. Oh, we've got an error. Brilliant. It's not actually brilliant. Type error, get element by ID is null. I gave there's a capital C in there. Okay. Make that lowercase, and that will fix that problem. Control R. New game. So, no, it's probably better if I just if we pretend that we're the 0, then we can add a fact that I have the dagger. Did that fact ever call? I don't think we ever called calculate table. In fact, we've got a console log here, so dd calculate table, and add fact needs to do the same. Control R, new game, Scarlet. Well, let's just say we own Scarlet card. So now, player 0 has Scarlet down as true. Player 1, we know nothing really about. Good. That's what I was hoping for. Next question. Let's see what happens if we add. We send out a request for Scarlet, Rope, and Ballroom. Nobody responds, so that's us. So if nobody responds, we leave it. We say us. Made it all the way back to us. We gained new knowledge. No, we gained no new knowledge because no, we ought to have gained a load of facts, a load of falseness. If we got all the way back to us. I need to find out what our events are. Have we got events? So let's come back to the console. It's the game dot events. Now we've got a bunch of facts. They're all here. So this the AS card's correct. Scarlet, Rope, Ballroom. So let's find the mistake. New game, parsint. If I never even bothered calling the function. I got as far as writing it and then didn't do it. So here we go. Has learned equals calculate event E or has learned. So the or there is to say, well, if this turns back false, but this is already true, right? I want to keep the true that's in has learned already. Refresh this. New game. Add the fact. Add the request. So now we've got a bunch of falses. All of these guys we don't know. We know that they don't have any of these cards because we've asked and the question has gone all the way around. But if we ask the question now, does anybody have Scarlet Rope or Hall? And this time player 2 responds, then we should know in theory that because player 2 doesn't have Scarlet or Rope, that player 2 does in fact have the Hall. And we should learn, of course, that player 1 doesn't have the Hall. So here goes. So yeah, player 1 doesn't have the Hall. We know that player 2 does have the Hall. Even though we weren't told what that card was he had, we were able to work out what card he had because... Okay, I think that's basically working. Let's see if it works if I do it from a different thing. So maybe player 2 asks a different question. Player 2 can ask the same question. Now we know player 2 has Hall. Maybe player 0 responds because we know that player 0 has Scarlet. And add that event. Do we learn anything from this? I think we learned that player 3 now doesn't have Hall. But we didn't learn that Scarlet had True. We didn't learn anything. So that is basically working. I'm going to tidy it up a bit next time I do this, so that we end up with a table. Or if you want, you can take hold of this code or play with this code and see if you can make it so it puts it all out in a nice tidy table so you can see the results. But I'll call it a day for today and see you on this one next week.